Welcome to patch 1.36.1, a sort of B patch for 1.36. I am your host, Jin, once again here with my co-host,
Jigna, and today's patch is quite short and we'll be covering all the changes, starting with the new Battle Pass. Legion will now be available with Abyss Empress Lennox as the epic, the rare skins accompanying Lennox being Warden of Hell Alonzo and Devilkin Cicella.
With Season 6 beginning, Season 5's ranked rewards will be given out. These are Cadet Magnus, if you hit Gold+, Poker Face Abigail's emote for Platinum+, Cadet Magnus's emote for Diamond+, and some Immortal exclusive profile icon, border, and emotes. Finally, all Diamond Plus players will receive NP, with more NP the higher ranked you were.
This patch also sees the start of the rank season. The grind begins again.
A much shorter patch than expected to start our ranked journeys on, but still impactful. The change that will set up the rest and define the season is reverting the revive cost from 250 to 200, promoting fighting.
VLS saw some major changes. When enemies are flying in your vision range, you will now see an indicator of where they are, as well as their landing location. Previously, you could only see enemies flying while they were in your vision range on the map. This change is a lot better for awareness, as well as knowing exactly when enemies are landing. Vision range while flying was also reduced by another 0.5. Overall, a good change to continue to make the VLS system somewhat risky. The final change, as promised, is VLS being changed to hyperloops and red zones to allow for more long-distance travel when you need to really move across the map.
Before we cover the character changes, we will cover the small changes to weapons and armor. All VF Dawn weapons saw plus 1% armor pen being added to them for 8%, meaning Dawn Arcana just got a small buff and lost nothing for these across the board changes.
Onto the item changes. Spectre and Beautiful Garment both saw small nerfs to their attack power and attack speed respectively. Mythcrop also received a very small scaling HP buff. Sportswatch and its upgrade to Lyrian both got small amp buffs. Omerta received much bigger changes as it lost 5 AP and 3 defense, as well as seeing a 3% AP nerf to its passive. This is a pretty big hit to the item, and it was also pretty niche in its usage to begin with. These changes will make the item even more directed towards the niche, as with the stat changes, you are likely only using this item if you can really benefit from the passive a lot.
Onto the character changes. We saw minor changes across the board for buffs and nerfs, with some more impactful changes to character mechanics.
First up, we have minor base stat changes for a few characters. Luke and Mai saw minor nerfs, while William and Nikki saw some minor buffs. Additionally, Nikki was pretty weak after last patch where her debuff cleanse was removed, so she got 5% more damage reduction on her W to compensate. Still overall weaker than before, but hopefully this will push her closer to being balanced.
Next, the characters who got major mechanics changed. Nadine, while more consistent on her Q, the lack of range has hurt her more than it was supposed to. So, they increased her range to have the best of both worlds. Another major buff and mechanic changes is Martina. Her R's cooldown got lowered again by 5 seconds at each rank except for final rank, and her refilm timer got cut in half. You can expect most Martinas to be able to be fully stacked before day 2 now, yet again promoting excessive fighting.
Vanya's Q changes were making her pretty vulnerable more than wanted, so her Q speed was increased to help fix her issue with the butterfly being avoided too easily. Next, Elena's rework was letting her freeze targets much faster than before, so to compensate this, the chill gauge was slightly increased, so she'll need to apply a bit more chill to actually freeze targets, and reduce the slow slightly to hit her with small nerfs.
The last category of changes are damage, base numbers, and scalings. Here we saw Heart receive a small buff to her basic attack amp and a large base number increase to her R healing. This affects both allies and enemies, but the healing should feel more impactful to a fight now. Another ADC, Kadia, is seeing a decently large basic attack amp nerf, losing double of what Heart gained. Haze's Q getting adjusted again, after the original changes losing its base damage increase across ranks that it had before.
Celine saw a small mastery buff of 0.2%, making her overall a bit stronger. Suo receives a late game nerf targeted towards her W, the cooldown getting higher at later levels up to 2 seconds at max, making it not as spammable late game. This really hurts Suo's 1v3 potential quite a bit and is a good change. Finally, Sylvia got some buffs, as the movement speed update affected her a lot more than other characters. Her bike has been noticeably slower, so this patch to compensate, her bike's E cooldown was reduced at all ranks, and she'll be using slightly less fuel, allowing her to stay on her bike longer. This change makes sense, since it lets her keep some of her bike mobility without overly buffing the character, as she did lose quite a bit from the movement speed patch.
And that's all we have for you today. This patch is pretty lackluster as the start of Ranked for Season 6.
Yeah, a overall minor patch. We'll be seeing a larger patch next week with Hisui's release, then be going back to the 2-week patch cycles for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, it would be nice to see a longer patch next week. Here's to hoping. See you all then.